I've never heard that term before. Heroin half coma. What was
Yep.
it like living through that, and what finally made you decide to change that in 2012? I think that's, yeah, 2012 is
Yeah.
when you said I can't do this anymore.
Right. Yeah. The heroin half coma thing, it's eventually the drug that I landed on for probably about 5 years after partying on whatever drug I could get my hands on, was heroin. And I was a IV user. And the thing is, though, I call it a half coma because I was a very high functioning addict. I was the manager at a store. I had an apartment, but I was high all the time. And when I got home, it was like I was out, I was like high, like I didn't know where I was. So it's really difficult for me to explain how I lived through it because it's a huge blur. My whole, like, I can't put things together chronologically, like where I worked or like when this happened, because it's just all mixed together in this one miserable existence that I was living. So it's hard for me to say, but in 2012, my boyfriend at the time came home with Molly. This is like I was like a raver in the 90s, the late 90s. So like this is when Molly was like first introduced as like the pure MDMA or whatever. And so I swallowed it like he told me to because I did like everything that he told me to. And I was violently ill for hours. I've never been that sick before in my life. And I went to bed and I woke up a couple hours later and I was like bleeding from, like my lady, whatever, no more TMI, but I went to the emergency room because I was like, oh my God, what is going on? You know? And it turns out that I was 6 weeks pregnant and the Molly obviously didn't agree with that. And I had a miscarriage. So that was on a Friday. And I spent the weekend with my boyfriend. And then on Monday, I packed my stuff and I left town. And I left him, I left my entire family, I left all my friends, and decided to get sober.
Wow, I'm sorry that had you had to go through that, but sometimes that's what we call our aha moments,
Right?
But that was a really aggressive aha moment, and I'm really sorry that you had to go through that. I mean, everyone say we go through things to teach us a lesson, or whatever the case is, but some of those lessons are harder than others. It's not like I
Right.
stubbed my toe. So,
Exactly.
it's definitely shows your strength that you were able to use that as a way to make you grow, instead of, because some people could have used that to break them, like, oh my God, and make it worse. So
Right.
kudos to you. Kudos to
Thank you.
you.
Yeah, I
So,
mean,
mhm,
ultimately, that was the best thing that could have possibly ever happened to me because if I
yeah.
had a kid with him, I would have been stuck in, that town and I never would have
Yes.
gotten it, probably.
Yes, I understand having kids by the wrong person is
Right,
never fun, never fun. So
right.
definitely dodge the bullet.
Yeah, for sure.
So sobriety comes with a lot of challenges. Like, how did you navigate quitting drugs and alcohol? And she did this cold turkey, you guys. That's what we didn't put in there. She did it cold turkey. So breaking up with your long-term partner, deciding I'm not going to do any of these drugs, and starting
Hmm.
over in a new town, new job, new people, everything. Like, how did you do that? Like, what challenges did you have to
It,
face going through that?
I didn't do it well at first. At first I moved in with a roommate that I didn't know and I really wasn't very fond of her. But that was like the smallest of my problems because when I first moved in with her, I was sick because I was coming off of heroin and I was still working full time and just trying to like pretend that I wasn't like dying on the inside. And so she didn't like that, of course, because I mean, who would, But I was like starting a new chapter of my life. Unfortunately, it started in her apartment, I just honestly, like, I didn't get sober because I wanted to. You know what I mean? I didn't leave him because I wanted to. They were things that I had to do in order for me to have any semblance of a normal life for the rest of my life. I was already in my 30s, you know? So, like I said, it didn't go well. I cried a lot. Like when I wasn't at work, I was home crying, like listening to sad music, like Portishead, and like bawling my eyes out. So, but eventually, I found the strength somehow. So I made it through. And now I look back and it was so worth it.